I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, July 10th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. And roll call, please.
Mayor Alahouzes.
Here.
Vice Mayor Banther. Here. Commissioner Sieber.
Here.
Commissioner Kikta. Here. Commissioner Carr.
Here.
Thank you. Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Melody Kidd from the Crystal Beach Community Church. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God of all, you sustain us this day. Today, Lord, we thank you for life's blessings. We thank you for the green pastures and the still waters that restore us. Tonight, O God, as we head into this meeting, sustain our city, sustain our government, and give us wisdom, and give us a sense of what's best in the community. I pray. Grace and peace to all. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our commission meeting, and thank you all for being here tonight. We will start our meeting tonight with a public comments on the items that will not be discussed this evening. If you have any comments, please come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and you'll be given 4 minutes. Yes, sir.
My name is Gregory Barnes. I live at 1281 Wendy Bay Shoal in Tarpon Springs. On the previous meeting at May 8th, I had made mention of a terrible area of Anclote Road where it meets alternate 19. And I just wanted to let the board know and everybody know that Commissioner Dave Eggers responded, and within 3 days, he went out and had the area inspected, evaluated, and repaired. And we just want to make mention of that and how grateful we are and thankful we are, because it really needed to be repaired. And we appreciate it, and I wanted to pass that on.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know also. I'd like to let you know that I had a meeting with Commissioner Eggers yesterday, and he assured me that it's on the schedule to be done. Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Any comments on the items that will not be discussed tonight? I hear none. Thank you. City Clerk, if you please read the public comments and public comments rules.
Public comments, preservation of order and decorum. The city manager shall note on the agenda, and the mayor shall inform members of the public that no speaker shall have the right to address the Board of Commissioners for more than 4 minutes on any particular item. Members of the public present at the meeting may donate their time to a speaker to extend the speaker's time, but such donation shall forfeit the donor's right to speak. The speaker shall identify the persons who have donated their speaking time by standing in the audience when they're recognized. Each donation shall extend the speaker's time an additional 2 minutes. In no event shall the speaker's time be extended beyond 10 minutes of total speaking time. Any deviation from this rule must be approved by the consensus of the majority of the board, but no vote need be taken to waive this requirement. Each person addressing the City Commission shall approach the podium, shall give his or her name and address in an audible tone of voice. All remarks shall be addressed to the City Commission as a body and not to any member thereof. All speakers, including City Commission, shall be recognized by the mayor. No person other than members of the City Commission and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through members of the City Commission. No questions shall be asked to individual commission members except through the mayor. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous while addressing the City Commission, may be requested to leave the meeting and may forthwith be barred from further audience at that meeting. The mayor shall preserve order and decorum and shall prevent attacks on personalities or the impugning of motives of particular members, and shall prevent digression from question under discussion. The mayor shall ensure that no boisterous conduct, such as cheering, clapping, or the like, shall be permitted during debate. The chief of police or his or her designate shall be the sergeant at arms of the commission meeting.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is Parks and Recreation Month, and I will read the proclamation for that. Whereas July is celebrated nationally as Park and Recreation Month, and whereas parks and recreation programs are the integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Tarpon Springs. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas all parks and nature recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And now, therefore, I, Chris Salahuzes, by virtue of the authority vesting in me, as the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim July 2018 as Parks and Recreation Month. Mr. Paul Smith and Tom Funchen, you shared the responsibility, so thank you both for the outstanding work. Do you want to say something, Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. I want to recognize Tom Funchen, Public Works Director, with me. It's a shared responsibility. It's a shared responsibility that we enjoy fulfilling, and we hope the community appreciates the fine parks and recreation programs that our leadership supports. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any commission comments on this item? Commissioner Sieber?
Yes, I want to thank you both and Craig with the Recreation Department. You guys do an amazing job. I don't know how many people realize how many parks we do have in the city. Maybe you can answer that question, Paul. So, you know, it's a constant upkeep, and there's a lot to be done all the time. So, and not only the parks, but the Recreation Department does an excellent job between the Dance Academy and the summer programs and the Happy Feet soccer program. You guys do an amazing job, and I want to thank you. How many parks do we have altogether, Tom?
Well, there's multiple different type of parks, about 13 parks, depending on whether it's just a small community park or like Craig Park. But they're about
I thought I
13
counted
altogether.
17 at one point, but
Yeah.
still a lot of parks.
I don't count all the very
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? We hear none. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a presentation, Library Board, the annual report. Ms. Patterson?
I need my techie. As usual, it's with great pleasure that I get to come and talk to you guys about my favorite place in the whole city. One of the things that I wanted to talk about this evening before we start into the report, which is pretty self-explanatory, future trends for libraries nationwide are pretty global because everybody is affected by the same things. Number one, and one dear to my heart, is aging. And people are retiring now. They're looking for things to do. They're looking for places to volunteer. So our library fits into all of that very well. Income equality is becoming more and more a reality in our world. And our library is one of those places that evens the playing field for the haves and the have-nots. And our library does a very good job of that. And connected learning. And this is where we start talking about social and digital media, which you will see a whole lot of in our report tonight, because the type of learning that everyone is doing now, no matter what your age is school, reading, but a lot of social media and programs that teach. And we'll talk about some of those as well. The Tarpon Springs Library has a board of 7 people currently. I'm Sherry Patterson. I'm the chairperson. Kim and Mitchell is here with us tonight. She's the vice chairperson, and she's leaving the board this summer, and we're very sorry about that. Debbie Salikas, teacher at Sunset Hills Elementary School, is our secretary. Debbie's not with us tonight. Claire DeMatsis, Jan Fortis, and Patricia Lovejoy are board members. Diane Wood is on the board as Director of Cultural and Civic Services. Diane's here. And Carrie Rupp-Calvis, our Library Director. Carrie. And Denise Manning, library staff, it says here, but she's my technical advisor. Thank you. So. We have a number of different library programs, actually hundreds of programs over the years, but we also have programs for all ages. You'll have the children's programming. We currently have a new librarian over our youth services department, and that would be Sandy Rodas. Joy retired just a couple of months ago, and Sandy has not missed a step taking over. The children's programming in the summertime is so important because the kids really need to have some place to go and play and learn. I know that Chris Alahoussis could probably tell you much more about the Senior Information Center than I could even begin, since this has been his baby right from, years ago now, I guess. The Senior Information Center meets in the conference room at the library on 2 days a week, on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 to 2. If you're not familiar with the Senior Information Center, please do make yourself familiar with it. I am sure that there are many residents of the city who could use the services being offered there. We have a lot of special programs that have also been in support of the Senior Information Center. And I believe the next one coming up is August 27th and 30th, and that's for our transportation needs, isn't it? All right. We have a number of partners in the community, and even more so as each year goes on. We have found that working within partnerships, we get more accomplished, be able to produce programs that are even more relevant to what's going on in the city. Our library staff attends First Fridays and makes people aware of where the library is and what services are available at the library. And I think they have some fun at First Friday as well. One of the big partnerships we have as a library is with the Friends of the Library. And you know, I wear another hat with that one. I'm the treasurer, currently the treasurer of the Friends of the Library. We fully support our library and try to give as much money to it as we possibly can. Last year, we gave them a total of $35,000. But not only do we manage the investments for gifts to the library, we also manage the little bookstore in the library. And the little bookstore last year sold over $15,000 in books that were priced at a quarter or 50 cents or $1. And every cent of that money was given to the library at the end of the year. And library volunteers aren't just with the Friends of the Library, though we have many of them helping out with the library. We also have volunteers who volunteer directly for the library. They assist with library programs. Mostly it's shelving books and CDs and DVDs. We have volunteers who come and provide help with computers. We have people who come to the library to learn how to use their Kindle or their iPad. And the librarians are always willing to help, but we also have volunteers who are very pleased to be able to do one-on-one training. And of course, we have volunteers that appear in the Christmas parade. And the Christmas parade, we have a float. It is a flatbed truck that is donated every year by Woody Hooper of Woody's the people with the stones and the rock and everything else you need for your landscaping materials. There we go. And he's always that, he not only volunteers the truck, he volunteers the driver, Joe Vaughn, and I think that's to protect his truck. So. We have an outstanding selection of databases at the library. If you have not been online and gone to the databases at the library, you're really missing out on some things. There are a lot of us who really want to learn more about something like Photoshop. And you can go to the library or go online at the library. You don't have to be at the library, just use your library card. And you can go and take lessons on lynda.com for Excel or Microsoft or all of the wonderful lessons that you can take on just about any subject. And you do it at your own pace. It's free. And you can do it at home. The most recent one that I'm really happy with is one called Novelist Plus. And if you are one who does book clubs or book groups and you need to pick books for it, Novelist is the place to go. You can get recommendations for good books for the book club, but if you're just looking to figure out what you want to read, you can go to Novelist and see what's available. We also have the digital magazines, so if you don't want to be paying for subscriptions, you can go online, look at the digital magazines, and that is free as well. Recently, over the last year, we have added these wonderful new features. One of them is the Museum Pass program. And we recently just added the Mauryan Art Center and the Chihuly Collection. We also have the Great Explorations Children's Museum, the Florida Holocaust Museum, and Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg. We're currently working on getting the Leaper Ratner involved with that. They want to do it, they just have to get their act together, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, they have a lot going on there, and they're having to try to figure out who can deal with this and handle it. But they do want to become involved with the city library or the county libraries, including our city library. Of course, this is one that I just heard about last night. I already knew about it, the Seed Library. But I heard from someone at the Community Garden and Garden Club last night, as a matter of fact, that they didn't realize that when you take a raised bed at the community garden, you have to plant it with something within 2 weeks of getting your raised bed. So they were trying to figure out, how can we get something planted within 2 weeks and we don't have a meeting coming up or anything like that. So they went to the library and they went to the seed catalog and they checked out all of the seeds that they needed and went back to the community garden and planted all the seeds so that they would be in compliance with the contract with the community garden. I thought that was so neat. So I asked Carrie, I'd heard that it was very, very popular, and she said yes. We've had hundreds of people checking out the seeds from the seed library. So it has been one of the best things that we've added in quite a while. And of course, we have the free little libraries all around town. We have one at Craig Park, which is one of the easiest to get to. And I think there's one at the dog park too. But the little free libraries, it is the take a book and then leave a book. If you're coming to get a book, bring a book with you and leave a book. But we are checking out the little libraries all the time to be sure that we have them stocked with children's and adults' books. We also have a number of different programs and other things that you can check out, including the kilowatt meters, that you can go check the efficiency of your home. And then we have the musical instruments. We have the bouzouki and what's the other one? The ukulele, I'm sorry. But people can check those out and use them for lessons. And we have other places in the city where they can take the lessons. We also have a new collection of items. Here we go. The launch pads. And if you haven't played with the launch pads yet, we have 3 of them for adults, and then we have 5, I think, for teenagers, and the rest is 30-some, I think, for children of different ages. The launch pads are little computers with educational games on them. And they don't hook up to the internet. They can be checked out for 2 weeks. And they're really a joy to work with. I checked out the adult section, and they had a game on that to test your short-term memory. And at the end of the test, it tells you whether you have something to worry about or not. And so fortunately, I passed with flying colors, and I took it right back to the library. So, we also have the STEAM carts, that is things on the cart that relate to science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And the kids can take things off of that cart to play with, educationally play with. We also have the American flag retirement box now, so if you have an old American flag, bring it to the library and put it in the retirement box, and the Boy Scouts, or I guess it's the Explorer Scouts, will take care of disposing of them correctly. I think they normally take them out to Sunset Beach and burn them out there. And I don't know how to pronounce Emmanuel's last name. Leventelis, that's it. This he did as an Eagle Scout project, and it's a beautiful box. Did a beautiful job with it, and I think he was going to do one for the City Hall as well. These new technologies and all, the Friends of the Library have been very pleased to be able to donate the funds for. And here's our mission. We usually would start off with the mission, but I think after you've seen what the library does, or a compilation of what the library does, you can see that they are living up to the mission to provide excellent library and information services to fulfill the needs of the users, to enhance their quality of life, and to be a focal point of the community. And at the end, for you all, there are some statistics so that you can see what the numbers are that come into play with the library, which you can enjoy at your leisure. I just want to say that it has been a wonderful relationship with the library from a perspective of a chairman of your advisory board, but also as a resident of the city of Tarpon Springs. The library, when it was at Craig Park, is one of the major reasons that my husband and I bought our home here in Tarpon Springs in 1992. And when you moved it to build the new one up here on Lemon Street, you just made it even better. So it's been a pleasure to be a patron of the library, and I hope people who haven't been to the library will take some time to go up there, because it is a major jewel in this city's crown. Thank you.
Mrs. Pearson, thank you for the presentation, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the advisory board, the library advisory board, the Friends of the Library, all the volunteers and all the staff for your support and the services that you provide into the library and to the City Information Center. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd also like to thank this commission, as I have previous commissions. It's a pleasure to volunteer for an organization like the library in a city where the city leadership really appreciates what you do and our library. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I want to thank you all first. You are a board of volunteers, and you do excellent work at the library. I know you face some unique challenges there with the location. You all do a very good job of serving the entire community, and you're always thinking of innovative ways to provide services on a very limited budget. So thank you very much for all your work. It is noted. Just one question. I know you mentioned, I think, do we have the Leaper Ratner passes yet in the library or no?
No, but they're in the works.
Okay, well, that was, I know in the budget, this is for us, not for you so much, but we almost conditioned our renewal of our $5,000 to the museum on that. So I don't want to be hardlined about it. It's going to be in the budget, I assume, again this summer, and I want to make sure that we have those passes. There's no excuse to not have those passes in our library with the city giving $5,000 a year. So I want to make sure that that's accomplished. Thank you.
It's being followed up, and Larson is working with a change in personnel, and that's part of the issues
So
there.
we'll make sure it gets done.
Commissioner Siebert.
Thank you, Sherry, and we appreciate all of you for what you do. And Sherry, not only do you wear 2 hats at the library, but hats all over the city with the Garden Club and the Women's Club and all the volunteering that you do. You're an amazing woman. But yes, I want to thank you all. I know the seed program really took off, and I was happy because of the community garden initiative. So I'm glad that that's been successful. And I love the little libraries, and Maggie does too. So appreciate those as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kichter.
Thank you. I just want to thank all of you for being here, and the library board, and the Friends of the Library, and all the volunteers that you have. I know you couldn't do half of what you do without all of your volunteers. It is so important to us as a city as well that we have the people come out and help. We have a phenomenal library, and I've supported you for years, and the staff is great. It's a great experience just to go out, visit the library. It is a great experience. And every year that you present to us, there's always something new coming up. You have new ideas, you have new technology, so you're always looking ahead, and I appreciate that. And I know you have so many people visiting every day, because I walk in the library quite a bit, and you're got a full house in there. So hopefully one day, like I've said before, I really would like to see the library expand. I think that we are ready for that very soon. But like I said, you all do such a phenomenal job for us, and I want to thank you so much for everything. And we miss Mr. Grantham, because he usually texts me and says, please remember the library when it comes to budget time. So Bill, we're remembering the library.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Thank you. We are now going to the consent agenda. Item number 3 is the award file number 180129 CCM fencing gate operators and handrails, Pinellas County Cooperative Contract number 1780122 BLN. Number 4 is to ratify an increase in revenue file and review file number 180023 CRS fire equipment, parts, supplies, services through the Lake County contract, which is 170606G. Are there any items that you'd like to pull? No, thank you. Any comments? Questions? Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. I will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kichter? Commissioner Siebert?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes, thank you. Item number 5 is the ordinance 2018-16, water, sewer, and reclaimed water rates. This is the first reading. The city attorney will read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2018-16, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending portions of Chapter 20 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs, removing references to past impact fees, increasing the tap-in fees for new reclaimed water service, eliminating readiness to serve and backflow assembly charges for specific residential irrigation meters, decreasing the rate of increase for water rates for fiscal year 2019, October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019, increasing water rates each year beginning on October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2028, establishing a flat monthly sewer rate, decreasing the rate of increase for sewer rates for fiscal year 2019, October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019, increasing sewer and reclaimed water rates each year beginning on October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2028, and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. This has been the first reading of ordinance number 2018-16. The second reading will be held on July 24th, 2018, and was published in the Tampa Bay Times July 13th, or will be published in the Tampa Bay Times July 13th, 2018.
Thank you. Staff report, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. I thank you for the opportunity to present this item here tonight, our first public hearing. For the purpose of the public hearing, I'm going to go through a presentation that outlines what got us to this point and the ordinance in front of you that we're asking you to approve. This first slide talks about what got us up to the first public hearing on May 8th, so just please take note of that when I read these numbers. That's the first proposal that's since been revised. But just by way of history, the city's current 10-year plan is set to expire next year. There's already an approved increase of 6.75% in place. A water and sewer rate study was completed with a new 10-year plan, and that would include replacing that already approved 6.75% with a new number in fiscal year 19, and then carrying through to fiscal year 2028. The study recommended the initial draft of a 5% increase in that first year, followed by 2.9% thereafter. In February 2018, that plan was presented to our Budget Advisory Committee, who unanimously recommended approval of the plan. The city mailed out notices to all the customers about the rate hearing on May 8th, and on May 8th, that plan was presented and it was not approved. We heard a fair amount of input at the hearing, and to summarize it quite simply, the main points were the past increases were high, and the cumulative effect of the proposed 10-year plan was also a high number. Communities that irrigate with potable drinking water have high bills, and there was also a comment that we need to put all the numbers out to the public, so that's also something that we heard and addressed. So we went back to the drawing board based on the input. We reviewed the comments and the concerns, and with the goals of addressing the customer concerns, also keeping up with our continued infrastructure needs and meeting the financial requirements of the utility. We revisited the study, and in order to accomplish a reduced rate, we went and reduced our capital projects by about $3.5 million over the 10-year period. The new proposed rates are 4% for fiscal year 19, so that's down from the already approved 6.75%. And then we're recommending 2.75% for the remaining years through fiscal year 2028. We also wanted to provide an improved option for those without access to reclaimed water or wells, so we went back and reduced the irrigation meter charges. And so the readiness to serve charge, which is $17.42 per month currently, is proposed to be eliminated for the residential meter of the 5/8 inch by 3/4 size. And this would be for customers that already have a water meter. Also, there's initial backflow prevention device charge of $245. We're proposing to eliminate that as well for customers that get a new meter to bring down that initial cost and make it a more viable option. An overview of the plan in graphical form here. The top is the current plan. As you can see, fiscal year 19 on the far right in the yellow highlight, that's that already approved 6.75%. That overall average for that prior 10 years was 6.3% per year. The proposed plan moving forward would replace that with a lower 4% rate that first year, followed by 2.75%, and the overall average of that is 2.8%. So as you can see, it's less than half of the previous 10-year plan on an annual average. This also compares very favorably with the regional average for water and sewer rates increases per year of 3.6% in the Southeast. We're recommending 2.875. It's also in line with other utilities such as cable and garbage collection. And I think you're going to see energy prices were artificially low. Those will probably start climbing up to be closer to those other averages. So we did a more detailed communication in these bills that went out leading up to this hearing. We presented this information basically that's in this presentation here tonight. We talked about our reduced annual rate plan, the reduced irrigation meter costs, and also advertised the hearings that are tonight and also on July 24th. We also provided information where you could get increased information numbers on the website, and we provided a point of contact, a single point of contact for any concerns or calls. I will tell you that we received about 3 calls out of all the bills that went out with this specific thing, and they were basic questions of just understanding what was being proposed. We also responded to some of the input we got at the public hearing. The Tarpon Key community was very well represented and had some concerns, some of them specific to their community. So The city manager and the commission suggested we have a workshop, and we did that. On June 13th, we hosted it at the RO facility. I feel like it was a very productive meeting. There were a lot of questions asked, and I think a lot of good information provided that helped clarify what we need to do and some of the ideas we're proposing to make better options for those specific concerns. I did also note that there seemed to be a real interest in more conservation type things, irrigation techniques, watering restrictions, those sorts of things I think we need to do more of community-wide, so we'll be looking to do more of that. It's really not in the interest of the utility for customers to have high bills. It's a limited water resource, so it's not something that we want customers to waste. So our revised recommendations, I note here red underline are changes since the May 8th hearing, but this is basically what we're asking for in Ordinance 2018-16 here tonight. Number one is decreasing our previously approved rate for fiscal year 19 from 6.75 to 4% per the plan, and then increasing the future years at 2.75% for fiscal year 20 through 28. We want to eliminate that irrigation meter readiness to serve charge, currently $17.42 for a standard residential meter. We also want to eliminate that initial irrigation meter backflow prevention device charge of $245 for that same type of meter. The remaining recommendations are from the May 8th hearing unchanged, and that's applying the same rate plan to the reclaimed water rates, which are currently 95 cents per 1,000 gallons, increasing the meter tap-in fee for reclaimed water service from $300 to $350, and this is reflecting the cost of the meter that's provided with that service. Establishing a flat monthly sewer rate for those without water service, and miscellaneous administrative revisions. There's references in the ordinance now to years 2004 and on, and so we wanted to clear that out, start with the current year, much easier to navigate the ordinance that way. And finally, providing for an effective date immediately upon adoption. So in closing, I wanted to come back to those four main points with how we've responded to those. The past increases were high. I want to note that they were a necessary part of our infrastructure investment for both water and sewer, and I feel they've positioned us now for a sustainable, I call it a low inflationary 10-year plan. You know, the rule of thumb you always hear is 3% is inflation. So we really work to get something even below that at 2.75%. The cumulative effect of the 10-year increase is high. Again, we've responded to that by lowering it further. I do feel like this is about as low as I could responsibly recommend to you and keep our infrastructure going in the right direction. We've got a lot of work to do out there. Communities that irrigate with potable drinking water have high bills. I believe the residential irrigation meter improved options we're recommending are going to address that concern, but I also want to continue our conservation initiatives. And finally, we presented that additional information on the city's website to make it available to our customers. So with that, that concludes my presentation.
Mr. Smith, thank you. And Mr. Licorice, I want to thank you also and all the staff involved. And I want to thank you for reviewing the proposed water sewer plan and reducing it even further based on the recommendations we got from the residents from the last meeting. And I also like to congratulate you for job well done on the town hall meeting that you had with the residents with Tarpon Key. It was very informative, and I got positive input. The residents are very happy with the information they got. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Panther.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Paul. As I told you in our executive session, I was impressed you're able to go back and find further savings for the city as a whole, and as well, thank you very much for meeting with these communities, especially Tarpon Key, that has some unique challenges, and finding ways that we can help them that might be a little bit different. And I think it just goes to show you the full service city that we offer here, and kind of customer service that you probably might not find, at least to this level, in other cities. So I'm very proud of you and staff for what you've done, and I'm in full support of this thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, I want to thank you so much for basically going back to the drawing board on this. I know it kind of took everybody back a little bit, staff did, but I think this is a better plan. And you've told us that You assured us that this won't jeopardize our infrastructure by cutting back just a little bit. So you listen to the community, you listen to our residents, and you listen to our board, and I do appreciate that. And again, all the work that you had to go back and rework the numbers and stuff, but it shows that our city does care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, yes.
Commissioner Siebel?
Thanks, Paul, for going back and revisiting the plan after our May 8th meeting and the concerns that were brought up. My concern back then was that we're still going to be responsible and have the means for the infrastructure that we're going to need in the future, and that we don't lower it to the point that we damage what we need to do for the city. But, going from 6.75 to 5 to 4, and then 2.75 is amazing that you can do this and still, like you said, be responsible for future infrastructure. So thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it, and I'm in support.
Thank you. Commissioner Core?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Smith, thank you for going back to the drawing board and coming up with this plan, and to your staff. I know there's a lot of hours that go into this. We've had multiple conversations, digging a little bit further. And I do know it's a delicate balance between looking at the current rates and also looking at our infrastructure, making sure that Tarpon has one of the best water supplies in the county and the area. Cost increases are never an exciting thing to have to address, but it is one of those difficult things that we have to have a conversation about. And I do realize that the infrastructure is a very important process. Tarpon having one of the top water treatment plants and also one of the top water plants in the area. Is it the southwest portion of Florida?
The southeast, where we did that regional study, is that what you mean?
Okay, yes, yeah. There's a lot to be proud of, what Tarpon does with our water plants, and I'm excited as a commissioner that we have that to stand on and to be a leader and an example amongst the other communities. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Please come forward to the podium. State your name and your address for the record.
My name is Gregory Barnes. I live at 1281 Windy Bay Shoal, Tarpon Springs. I'd like to start off by saying that the community recognizes how much work went into rehashing this whole issue out again. It was astronomical, and we really appreciate it. The whole issue was treated with dignity and respect, objectivity, and looking out for the whole city. And we just want you to know that we appreciate that. We appreciate the town hall meetings. Lots of work went into that. Lots of data gathering, answering the questions, presentations, setting aside side shops, conservation, education. I mean, it was the whole gamut. It was above and beyond. And I just want everyone to know that thank you for allowing Mr. Smith to rehash that out and have a chance to look at it again. I think we're still straddled with some higher rates than a lot of us that are used to, but I think the consensus from our community is that we recommend that you approve this new proposal and that we support it.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. Yes, sir.
My name is Peter Kusathanis. I'm at 26 Parkin Court in Tarpon Springs. And I just wanted to use this opportunity to just see if everyone's aware of a couple of things that are happening with the water department and some of the billing issues, to see if perhaps you guys might want to consider making a couple of changes. The first thing is that the water department charges roughly about $60 a month to a meter that is having zero use, that's turned off. No other utility is able to do that. An electric company can't do that. The cable TV company can't do that. Nobody can do it. But if you're not getting service at your house and your meter's off, Tarpon still charges $60 a month. There's sewer charges in there. There's water charges in there. There's garbage charges in there. For a vacant property, for whatever reason, it seems unfair. It's been going on for years. That's one of the things that I wanted to point out. I don't know if people know that. I don't know if it's legal, but I guess it is because it's been going on for years. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem like a utility should be able to charge that kind of money for no service being provided. The second thing that I'd like to bring up that's a little bit more unique, and I don't know how many people are aware of this as well, is that my mother owned a property in Tarpon, and she became very sick and an invalid and spent about 3.5 years in a nursing home. Her Social Security check went to help pay for the nursing home, so she had no other income that came in. She paid for her home and had paid off her mortgage, working hard her whole life, and owned her home free and clear. Because she was an invalid, the property taxes for the county were waived because they have a clause there for people to not get taxed property taxes if they're in wheelchairs or if they're invalids. She wasn't living in her house, but we kept her house for her. We didn't sell it. We didn't rent it out. We didn't know when she was coming back. The electric to the house was shut off, so there were no charges for electric. The insurance was dropped. There were no other charges except the water bill. The water bill kept coming even though the water bill was turned off. And if her sons weren't paying her water bill for her on a property that didn't have any usage for 3.5 years, which amounted to about $2,000, the city would have slapped liens on the property of a woman who had worked hard her whole life to own her house, pay her mortgage off, was an invalid in a nursing home, and, could have stood to lose her house, which seems like that's unfair. It seems like maybe you guys should look at that and see if there's something you can do about that to make it a little better for people who don't have family to pay for their loved ones' care or their loved ones' bills while they're in nursing homes and things like that. That's all. I just wanted to bring that up, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Sure.
Good evening. Justin Fessy, 467 Brownland Street, Tarpon Springs. I just wanted to speak strongly in favor of Mr. Smith's and this current proposed rate increase. I might be the only one in the room that thinks it's a good idea to raise our rates, but it is a good idea because investing in infrastructure in the long run is the appropriate response. I might go so far as to say that it's unfortunate that a very, very small group was able to take good investment dollars that we're probably going to regret 10 years down the line. Those are the kind of decisions that led the city of St. Petersburg to have horrible flooding, storm-related issues because they didn't invest enough in infrastructure. So this resident is happily going to pay his rate and hope that we continue to invest deeply into our sewer, water, and stormwater systems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Hi, Leslie Barfried, 1107 Sunset Drive, Tarpon Springs. It's my first visit to a meeting like this because I'm specifically interested in this information. To piggyback off of a couple of the other comments, number one, I have a question as to what we're sacrificing by this trade-off for the rate decrease. Although I think the current rate and the proposed previous rate were excessively high in comparison to other areas I've lived in. I do agree with this change, but again, my concern is what's being sacrificed as far as our infrastructure or previous planned project that, I live in an area that frequently floods, and I know there's been different projects regarding drainage on street corners and things like that, which would be public works as well. I don't want to sacrifice that. However, to also comment as far as the no service fees, I was a new resident to Tarpon in 2010. I bought a house that was pre-foreclosure, and when I came to the water department to turn on the water in my name, there was a $69 bill there. That was not part of my closing. It was not announced to me. It was not delivered to me at that time. I contacted, and luckily the previous owner was nice enough to come and write me a check because I wouldn't have been able to have service turned on without paying that additional fee. I do agree that's unfair and not expected. However, my last comments are, as far as this presentation, and I see the website on the notification, this is the type of information I need to know to break it down for me, and I couldn't take notes fast enough. Is this available on that website? Okay, all of this, exactly, great. And the other question I have as far as that is, on the first page of this notification, it's broken down differently than the proposed rates as water, sewage, and then the average. And then on the changes, we have it all lumped into one. Is that the same scenario, or is there a breakdown of the difference, the percentage for water and the percentage for sewage? Or is that upcoming? Is that available, or? Okay.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Mr. Smith. You want to answer that?
There were a lot of questions in there, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'd like to go back for just a second and explain there are fixed charges and volumetric charges in the utility bill, and that is a standard billing practice, and there's a purpose for it. The fixed charges are required for the stability of the utility. We have responsibilities for those water pipes, those fire hydrants, those things to be maintained, whether or not a customer's using water at their home. And that's a standard practice that goes beyond water and sewer. It's on your electric bill as well. It might have a different name, but it's the same sort of thing. I recently had a solar panel system on my house, and I'm still paying a bill. And the reason is there's some fixed charges in there for the lines that carry the electricity away or bring it in. So that is standard practice. There's a reason for it. It is a fair method of billing. Back to the question about what was taken out to make the rates lower, I can tell you that in summary, we have investment in water lines and sewer lines. Those two areas, we basically needed to reduce about $200,000 a year for the 10-year plan in order to achieve those lower rates. So what that meant is on the water side, which includes hydrants, pipes, valves, those sorts of things, we had $1.3 million per year allocated. Now I think it's about $1.15 million per year. In other words, it's still a healthy investment. Our progress might be slowed slightly, but yet we're going to be able to prioritize and achieve, I would argue, much more than we did 10 or even 20 years ago. So we've got a responsible plan moving forward. Similarly, on the sewer end of things, we have maybe a reduction of $50,000 to $100,000 out of the original $1 million per year. So we're on a responsible, proactive plan. Regarding puddles or stormwater problems, that's not included at all in these water and sewer rates. That's a separate billing system. It's on the same bill, but it's not affected by the water and sewer rates. I hope that answers all the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you. Are there any other public comments? I hear none. I will entertain the motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Item number 6 is the ordinance 2018-07, the comprehensive plan, future land use, the coastal element. This is the second reading. City Attorney will read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2018-15, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, extending the established temporary moratorium on the submission and processing of any applications and any issuance of any permit for location of any wireless communication facilities, towers, or antennas in the city's rights-of-way for an additional period of 120 days, providing for conflicts, severability, construction, and publication, and providing for an effective date. Second reading of ordinance 2018-15, published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 29th, 2018.
Staff report. Please
Mayor,
turn the cell phones off, please.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Heather Erler and staff to this, your Planning and Zoning Director, staff to this application. I have no additional information to add to since first reading. Unless you have any other questions, I can answer any other questions you would have.
Are there any commission questions, comments? Are there any public comments on this item? Here none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Sorry, Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We are now going to the item number 7, the appointment to the library board. This is a straightforward. We have 2 vacancies for regular members to be filled. The term expires July 1st, 2021. We also need to appoint an alternate member, number 2. I'd like to recommend Mrs. Scott. Not only she completed the Citizens Academy, but also she's a librarian, and she was my school teacher when I was in high school. So it's a good reason. Vice Mayor Banther. Go ahead.
I can't argue with that. Okay? I can't argue with that. I would support.
Ms. Scott?
Yes, Mrs. Scott.
And you select one more?
Oh, you want my full recommendation?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
would. You get the,
So we got we got 3 spaces, and we have 4 applicants, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I guess I'm fine with Mrs. Scott. And Cassie Hall would be my second. I believe she just signed up for the Assistance Academy. Is that correct, Irene?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, that is a third choice though on her.
Yes.
and the third choice will be for the alternate number 2.
Okay. I mean, I don't know either Nancy or Sheila. I guess go with I just have to pick because they're both the same, Sheila. So I would go Cassie, supporting your choice for Eileen, and then Sheila. Those are my
Okay.
three. Either are fine.
Sheila is an alternate, correct? Number 2.
Yes, I only say that because Eileen, though Miss Scott turned hers in first, so
Okay.
pretty much you got to go by now.
All right, thank you.
Not that I usually say anything, but I just want to mention that Ms. Hill would be a good candidate for some of our upcoming openings we're gonna have on Budget Advisory Board. So, which was her first choice. So I just.
You want? I mean, is that
Well, I don't want to stop somebody from getting on the board,
Okay.
but I just want to mention that.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I'm sorry. Can I,
Vice,
so,
Vice Mayor,
because,
Vice Mayor, do you want to change that? or
Yes,
you
we'll
wanna
amend
speak?
it. We'll put Eileen Scott, Nancy Clark, and Sheila. Is it Hader? Hader? I don't want to say that wrong. We'll put those 3 individuals in those 3 slots respectively down the list, how they are, and that's in order of when they were turned in. That's fair, and they're both first choice is library board, and we'll save Mrs. Hall for her first choice later on at the recommendation of the city manager.
Well, again, and after this, but obviously we're gonna have some openings on that board when we
She wants
finish
to be on the
when we finish this budget, and she has financial
Okay.
background. I could really
Okay.
use that on the board. Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Commissioner Kikta.
thank you. And I would agree with Ms. Scott as a regular member, Sheila Hader as a regular member, and Cassie Hall as the alternate. Like I spoke with Cassie, and she is she has a huge financial background, and she is very interested in the Financial Advisory Board when those openings come up as well. But I encourage her to start getting involved now. So I think that those are my recommendations.
Commissioner Sieber.
I agree with Eileen Scott to be appointed as a regular member. I would appoint Sheila Hader as a regular member and Nancy Clark as an alternate, only because, they wanted the library board. So I wouldn't want to keep someone from getting on a budget advisory board or committee if that was their first choice, and we may have some openings coming up on that. So just thought that it'd be better to let her have her choice of budget advisory if that was her first choice. So those are my recommendations.
Commissioner Carr, who do you recommend?
What time of day does this board meet?
Oh, I don't know.
City manager, do you know?
I think at 4.
4 o'clock? Okay, so it's later in the day.
I think it's 4 o'clock.
I would follow along to say Miss Scott, Miss Hayter, and Miss Clark as the options.
Thank you. You need a motion to that effect?
That's my motion.
Yeah. A motion to that?
I would make a motion to appoint Mrs. Scott, Mrs. Clark, and Mrs. Hayter.
Okay. Do we have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. The roll call.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. And now we're going to item number 8, which is a discussion, homeless issue. Commissioner Kikta.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to point out that this should have read on our agenda as more of a discussion about the vagrancy issue in our community. This is not about the homeless. And I know a lot of people that are here tonight, I want to thank you all for being here, but this issue is put on the agenda, and it's not to discuss the homeless, it's not to discuss soup kitchens or how we aid our homeless here in the community. That's not what this discussion item is about, and I'm sorry that you were all misinformed about that. I did put out an email about that today. It was distributed to various people within the community. I also sat with the Shepherd Center yesterday and explained this, and some other prominent people in the community that do help and aid our homeless. That was not the intention of this agenda item. So again, I'm sorry that you were all misinformed about what the agenda item is about. What the item is about is the board here, we've received some emails and pictures from people within the community of vandalism that's been going on from some vagrants that are here in the community. And they're very disturbing photos of what's happening. And what I wanted to do tonight was discuss with my fellow colleagues and the chief and the city manager what we can do to correct this problem. A few years ago, we had some issues in town, downtown, the sponge docks, our Craig Park, and other parks within the community, our public restrooms. They're being vandalized. There's needles being left. They're living in our band shell. There's certain people living in our band shell. They're destroying the public bathrooms, which now is creating an issue where we have to send our staff out to clean up these issues, these problems, and it's starting to cost the city money to do this, and our staff's time. So that's what this discussion is about tonight. Like I said, we've overcome the issue in the past, and I'm trying to figure out what we are not doing to correct the problem. Is what's changed since last time we ran into these issues. My question to Chief, I don't know if we start foot patrol in Craig Park at night or down at the sponge docks or downtown. I don't know if that's the answer. And again, that's why I wanted to discuss this with our board. When we were discussing the Sun Bay, there was a presentation given to us by the police department about how they ramped up presence down there, and they showed us that they ramped up presence and that the crime went down. So again, is that the answer to ramp up presence of our police department to correct this problem? Again, it's disturbing with the pictures that we're getting, and they're leaving their feces in town in our storefronts and stuff, and it needs to be addressed. That's what the issue is. It's not about our homelessness. It's not about soup kitchens or helping our veterans. I believe that we as a city help and work very well with our soup kitchens in town and all of our agencies that are here to help. We work as a team, and we want to continue that. So again, this is not what the discussion is about. So I'm sorry that you were misinformed or maybe you're here to help us solve this problem with the vagrancy issue. So I wanted to hear from my colleagues and Chief. I don't know if there's any plans in place right now. I know there's been some discussion. So I'd like to hear get some ideas of what we can do to start cleaning this issue up again.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I want to first thank everyone here tonight. I realize there's other things I'm sure you would rather be doing than sitting here with us tonight. And as a practicing Catholic, someone who's a Mass 6 days a week, I greatly appreciate the work that each of you all do in your individual organizations to feed the poor, to clothe them and to house them. I believe that is God's work, and each of you all do that in your own ways, and I am grateful for that. And I'm very proud that I live in a community where that's taken seriously, where we help the poor in our community, those that want help, those that want to improve themselves, and families that are down on their luck. And that's something we should all be proud of. I consider you all partners and assets in our community. I agree with everything that Commissioner Kika has said. It's kind of ironic to me because I, in a public meeting, what was it, Mark? Maybe March or April, said that I was going to bring this issue forward, terming it vagrant, obviously, in the fall. And so Commissioner Kika put this on the agenda after some recent reports that have happened. And I said, okay, we'll have this discussion earlier. And now we're here today. And I do think people have been misinformed. So that's a shame. And it is important to define the problem. We are not talking about homeless people here. This is vagrants, people that are choosing not to get help or receiving help in the form of food and clothing, but not improving their situation, wishing to sleep on our streets. And as I've been told, and I'm free to stand corrected, I was told by our previous homeless outreach officer that has retired that it's optional to be homeless in Tarpon Springs, and that's what he told me, and I feel free to be corrected if that's not true. So people that are choosing to not get help or take advantage of the system, taking resources away from people that do need it, and then committing crimes by trespassing, loitering, and doing other things that are not appropriate. If anybody thinks that this is a rare event, these vagrants, I invite you to come to my office at 600 East Tarpon Avenue. My family in 2013 made a pretty significant investment in 3 buildings on East Tarpon Avenue that were fairly just kind of run down. 2 of which were overrun with vagrants. We've cleaned it up, and I've had to spend at least $10,000 on fencing and security, keep them from sleeping in the back, harassing my tenants, harassing my employees, defecating, puking, and doing other things that I won't talk about up here. So it is an issue. You can say it's not an issue, but vagrancy is an issue in Tarpon Springs. And that's when we need to define the problem as what it is and separate it from homelessness, because it's 2 very different things in my view. To solve the problem, there's no magic bullet. It's never going to completely just go away. So what I would like to see happen, what I was going to propose, and I was going to bring this up here in the fall, was to direct our city manager and our chief of police to meet with the appropriate providers in town to get their input on what they think we can do better as a city, and what they can do better as partners to help identify and help solve this problem or mitigate it. We're never going to solve it, but to mitigate this problem. So I'll see what my colleagues say about that, but that's my direction to staff tonight, and then to report back to us no later than the 2nd meeting in August of the outcome of those meetings, what our partners says, what our partners in the community say that they can do to help, and what we as a city can do better as well to prevent this vagrancy from getting worse. It has gotten worse. I don't have evidence. Hard data, but I lived here my entire life. And, again, my office faces Tarpon Avenue all day. I see it every day, all day. So it has gotten worse. There has been discussion, or when I had some discussion, some good discussions with some providers yesterday, they stressed that, we don't try and bring people to Tarpon Springs, and I'm sure they don't. I don't think they advertise to come to Tarpon to get help. It's fun. I think they're trying to help people in Tarpon, but nonetheless, I think we do such a good job of helping people that the flip side of that is people do come here for that. I mean, I just think that's common sense. Palm Harbor, Holiday, Eastlake, Dunedin don't do near a good of job providing for the poor and those that need help than we do here in Tarpon Springs. Again, that's something to be proud of. But we have to identify those that are abusing the system and then causing crime, in our community. The ban shell that Commissioner Kika talked about is very true. My daughter, a few months ago, we were playing at Craig Park. She ran up there, and I had to stop her because there was drug paraphernalia littered all over it. That's something we as a city have to do better, and I mean employees and us to police and monitor that. So in closing, again, I want to thank you for what you do. I don't have the skill set that you all have to help the poor, but I greatly admire it, and I look forward to your participation with our city manager and our police chief and helping us solve this problem because we have to solve it. I think before somebody gets hurt, or it does become such an issue where it's going to hurt the economic development issues that we've been pushing in the downtown area. So again, my charge is to have our city manager and our chief of police meet with the providers, also meet internally to come up with ideas of how we can prevent vagrancy and how we can better clean this up in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Seaver.
Thank you. I agree with you, Vice Mayor. As far as the vagrancy and the people who don't want to live anywhere but on the street, those are considered chronic homeless, and we've known them for years, the ones that live here. But I feel that the situation has gotten worse. I've talked to the chief about it. I'm at the band shelter in Craig Park, and I know someone lives there and leaves a lot of garbage. And we've gotten the emails from our business owners. I'm a business owner, and they're on the sponge docks as well. So there's things happening there. And I don't know if the chief is going to make some comments tonight, but we're definitely at a point that we need to do something. My suggestion before we decided to have this discussion was to have a special session with our partners and our providers, because I think this is something we need to all get together, because it is a partnership in the city. We all need to get together and discuss and have some solutions with our police department, with our partners, our community partners, and with ourselves. So I think that we should be included so that we can have an open discussion about what's happening, what are we doing, how do we move forward? Because we need to move forward. We can't just keep talking about it. So I feel that we need to be involved and have a discussion with all of our providers and community partners. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr.
Thanks, Mayor. Grown up in Tarpon Springs my whole life. I lived one house off Spring Bayou with my parents, and my parents still call the area home. I've spent a lot of time in downtown, still spend a lot of time in downtown, Tarpon Springs and the Sponge Docks today. Very proud to call Tarpon Springs home. I volunteered with many organizations in the past, growing up in high school and college, and throughout elementary and middle school. But I do see that there's a need and a concern to address safety needs, to address tourism, to address business and quality of service. Overall, it's great to see a turnout like this amongst a city commission meeting. It's been quite some time since we've seen the auditorium filled this late in a meeting. I do believe there's a big difference between a chronic homeless person, which I think some of the other commissioners are calling vagrants, and then also someone that's really down their luck as a young family, someone that may have lost their job, who's just trying to make ends meet. Overall, I would agree with the fellow commissioners that these are conversations that we need to have about the chronic homelessness. It's not about the issues and the struggles that a family person is having because they can't pay their bills or can't pay their water bill, can't pay their power bill, can't afford food at Publix or one of the grocery stores. But we do need to take care of our residents here in Tarpon Springs also. So there's a balance between how do we allow and help the chronic homeless, and how do we respect the residents that have purchased properties, that have businesses on the main street, and businesses throughout town. When I walk through downtown Dunedin, when I walk through downtown Safety Harbor, when I walk other areas of the Tampa Bay area, I'm not approached by homeless people. But there have been other places in St. Pete and Clearwater that I have been approached by chronic homelessness. The one thing that I think we need to make sure is that we're not a beacon or a big welcome sign that says, welcome to Tarpon Springs. If you're homeless, come here. If you need help, if you're homeless, these are issues that we need to make sure that we're careful about. Overall, we want to take care of our chronic homeless that are part of Tarpon Springs, but we shouldn't have to take care of the chronic homeless that are part of Palm Harbor, part of Dunedin, part of Safety Harbor, part of Clearwater, part of St. Pete. So I think we need to delicately look at this to say, if you have chronic homeless in St. Pete and Clearwater, make sure you're not sending them to Tarpon Springs as well. And this is a concern, I believe. As I mentioned to you, I do spend a lot of time going to the restaurants in the Sponge Docks and in downtown. And numerous times, over and over again, I get approached by homelessness or potentially someone that might be on drugs, being asked for money and being asked for help for a place to stay. And there's usually some type of line that goes along with it. And my answer is typically like, we've got a lot of great resources in town. They don't know that I'm a commissioner. I am aware of the resources that are available. And then the next comment is like, well, no one's here to help me, or they're closed already. So I do find it concerning that the amount of times I visit, it's more often than not, as I'm walking to my vehicle, that I'm approached by a homeless person or someone that's strung out on drugs. I'm not sure if that's an area where we need to encourage more policing, more active policing at certain times of the day in these areas. To me, if we want to be recognized as a tourist destination in an area, also, we need to be careful on how our visitors are being approached as they're leaving certain establishments at different times of the day. I'm excited to hear about the public comment. Obviously, I can see there's a lot of it here tonight. And regardless of which side you're on, there's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. And there's an opportunity to help many people. And it's something that the city cannot continue just to stay status quo with, regardless of what happens. Thanks.
Thank you. Also like to thank everyone for being here today. And I want to thank you for the services that you're providing to the homeless, to the needy people. I think it's very great that we do that in Tarpon Springs. Homeless is a complex and very sensitive issue, not only in Tarpon Springs, Pinellas County, in the whole state of Florida. The city of Tarpon Springs is one of the few cities that is providing the outreach program. A policeman has been assigned to work with people that are homeless and to provide the service, and not very many cities do that. And we should be very proud for that services that we're providing. What the officer does is connecting them with agencies depending on their needs and their situation. Agencies such as the Pinellas Hope, they're providing services including health, helping the people to apply for jobs, counseling, they're providing hot meals, and also the city of Tarpon Springs is providing funding for the service. Another agency is the Directions for Living. They're providing health services. Another one is the Pinellas Safe Harbor. They provide services for everyone, including felons, drug and alcohol abusers. Number 4, I would say, is the Veteran Administration. They're providing medical and benefits to all the veterans. The YMCA, and thank you for being here tonight, sir. They also provide services to the families and to the children. Religious community services, they provide services for domestic violence, addictions, and mental health. So there are 6 different agencies in the area that we work with, and our policeman is constantly working to connect them, to connect the people to get service. The people of Tarpon Springs are very generous. We have local organizations, we have churches, and they're providing hot meals every day, and that's you providing the service, and I want to thank you all for doing that. We are very appreciative for doing this. In my opinion, though, but the long-term solution it should be to convince and to encourage the people they need to help to get with resource officer to get to take them down to those agencies to get training, to get assistance, to get housing, to get jobs, and be productive in our society. It's good that we provide a meal every day, but we have to look for the future. This is what we should be thinking about, what we should do for the future. But in the meantime, I'd like to express my appreciation to all of you for providing the service to the people that have this need. And I do agree with my colleagues that we need to have a meeting with the providers to look and see what we should be improving on, what policies do we have, what procedures do they have, and look and see what improvements we can make, and also to make sure that we ensure the safety of the people. Because we've received many complaints from the businesses, we get complaints from different residents that they are sometimes in fear on some of the things that are happening. So I'm looking forward to hear from every one of you and listen to your inputs. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask the city manager a question, if I may? I wanted, what time do we lock the bathrooms in town? Do you know what time are they?
They're different depending where they are, but let me just go ahead and let you know what's going on, because there is stuff on our part that's going on. From the time Commissioner Banther and I met, we'd always, and there's really a 5-pronged approach that we need to look at, and we're already involved in the first 3. Of course, the first is to identify the problem. Second is identifying who is causing the problem. 3 is to say what are the contributing factors that are causing the problem. Those 3 things that we have to look at, and the police department and myself, from the time we had that meeting, Commissioner Banther, have begun that part, because we need to get a good feeling on that part before we do number 4, which is something that's coming up. Number 4 is talking with all those involved, which means talking to the heads or a representative from a lot of the organizations out there. That's the part we need to get to. We're working on 1, 2, and 3 already from the time, because I was anticipating this coming on the budget layer. I realize we've had some people do complaints. I've also told them that I've talked to me, listen, you got to give us some time. We're already working on it. We got a process to do. So if you get more, as you get more in the coming weeks, you need to tell the people complaining, we are working on it. It's not something you can speed up and do fast. But since we're already looking at identifying the problem, who's causing it, and what are contributing factors, we are pretty close. We are close, and we'll be working with the chief to set the meeting up. I think, again, myself have suggested, and the chief, me especially, because I'm involved in a lot of this in my other profession as police chief and dealing with this, that we get together and we identify, and the next step is to meet with those organizations and meet with them. What have we found out? What do we do? What are some of the contributing factors? How they can help us with the contributing fact, and talk the whole situation out. And then it's coming up with a plan and coming back to you, as you said, hopefully end of August, 1st of September. I think that's because we're way ahead of starting. So normally I'd tell you it'd be about 3 or 4 months, but we're already into the process. So I think we can do it by that time frame. Come back and have the discussion here with what we've come up with, what we've talked to the people in the organizations out here, and what is our ideas and game plans to bring forward to deal with the issues and the problems. So everything is in the works. We just need a little time, and I think we can keep with that time frame to come back and have the meetings and have the ideas and the thing come back to you end of August, beginning of September, one of those first meetings before the new year, and tell you what I mean, you know, the things on both sides. I mean, I've seen some extreme things that people complaining. What I asked some of them was, well, when I go into the record to call the police department, has there been a record of it? No. And that doesn't help us. And then, of course, how this thing got completely blown out of proportion of what is on there, it's the reason why I tell y'all I hate social media. I hate a lot of that stuff, because nobody calls anybody and talks anymore. Everybody types and prints things on there. And the old-fashioned way when I was chief, it was great, because somebody picked me up the phone and yelled, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And we talked and we had a conversation. And, you know, they can say anything about the new way it is, but the old way was a lot more efficient in getting things done. So, again, we're ahead of this thing. We're prepared to do this and working on the plan and getting with them. I know most of the people, and Chief knows most of the people involved with all these organizations and churches. So I think we can sit down and once we identify some things and some solutions, come up with something and come back to you with a plan. You know, we can talk tonight and hash things out, but that's not going to accomplish nothing until we get the foundation done and meet with them and then come back to you and have a real good discussion in a month or two.
Mayor, could I just add something? Yeah, I agree, and that's the only way we can move forward. As you all know, I was on the Homeless Leadership Board for almost 4 years, and one thing I learned is the most difficult thing about homelessness are the chronic homeless. There are many agencies out there to help the families and to house them and to feed them and to, get them back to work and get them back on their feet again. And it's important to give them a hand up and not a hand down. But the chronic homeless just really don't want to go live inside. So those and the people mentally ill and are on drugs are what's causing most of the problems in Tarpon. And I also worry that they may be coming from St. Pete or Pasco or other areas because we are such a compassionate city. So yes, I agree. We need to really meet with all our agencies and figure out what we need to do and how we can help this situation.
Thank you.
Mayor, I've got one
Go ahead.
question for the city manager or a statement I would like to make. I don't want to wait until after the first of the year to address this. I know that was one of the things that you may have said. That
I said the second meeting of August or first meeting of September.
okay. Then I heard something after the first of the year also. I thought, but maybe I misheard that.
Oh, if we brought it up in the
Okay, so I misunderstood that.
no,
then.
that was when they talked about the fall. But we were ready when I had to talk with Commissioner Banther. I was already
Okay.
we were already talking and working on the other issues.
Okay, all right.
We'd have been sooner than that anyway with that because that's why we just got a head start of the issue.
Okay, and I don't think this is something new myself. I think this is something that's been going on for a long time as well, and one of the issues that we haven't really wanted to address head on. So again, I'm curious to hear some public comment tonight too.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? We are now going to the public comments on this item. If you please come forward, state your name and your address for the record.
Mayor, if you could advise them to come forward and take the seats to help speed up the process.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm nervous, so please bear with me. I don't do this. My name's Michelle Musio Reed-Miller. I am Tarpon Springs. My father retired as your crossing guard from 10 years, Tarpon Middle. He's gone. My mom served your kids. She retired Sunset Hills, Tarpon Springs Elementary, and Tarpon Middle. She served your kids. She retired. I've a retired state of Florida employee. I've done food stamps at Mirror Lake, AFDC, Medicaid. I retired after 20 years. I've worked in Pinellas Park. I've counted the homeless. 2 census I've done it. Child's Park. I was out at Child's Park counting homeless where you all are in your beds. That man there. We own the house at 315 North Florida Avenue that used to belong to Mike and Betty Musio. He called you by your first name. He works for the city of St. Pete. He makes that drive every day. In 3 years, he retires. And I can sleep when he's driving in the morning. He's the feet on the ground in St. Pete. They're not coming from St. Pete, folks. St. Pete and Clearwater are actually hubs themselves. They've got Daystar, they've got St. Mary's, they've got everything down there. They've actually got, and we're not supposed to say this, the city of St. Pete actually does something creative with their homeless. Maybe you should talk to them. But in any case, I heard some good stuff when you all were talking, and before I leave, I'm not here tonight representing any agency. I'm here as a human being. Paul, thank you. I have a heart next to your name because you said a lot of good things about putting data in front of the public. I highly recommend you guys do that. Before you make statements about people coming from other cities, how are you documenting that? How do you document? Where would they get the money? I've done bus tokens. We don't give out bus tokens. I don't do that. We didn't do that. For none of the agencies that I worked for have we ever given out. And I also, by the way, 11 years substitute teaching for your kids. I just retired in May because I don't want to get shot. But in any case, I know you guys are going to talk, and I hope you make some good decisions, and I hope that you remember to listen to your community. Remember, somebody said tonight earlier, one of the other speakers, Tarpon wants to be a leader and an example. The business owners that are having problems, a successful business deals with the problem. An even better business prevents it by reaching out to the problem. You're not thinking outside the box. Come on. I'm going to leave now so y'all can have a discussion and talk more. But I know you're going to make the right decision because I'm going to be praying and I'm going to be watching. And I will probably be back. Good night, folks.
Please do not clapping, please. Please do not clapping, please. Thank you, Mel.
Good evening, Beverly Beliers, 1028 Peninsula Avenue. It's interesting that we're still having this conversation because when I was sitting up there, we had it years ago, and we had the same problems about the homeless, the different types of homeless. I sat on the homeless coalition for 6 years, and no, they're not coming from St. Pete, and the lady is correct. They need bus passes to get up here. If they don't have gas, they don't have cars. That's not who we're serving. But it was mentioned earlier that, all the South County agencies that are available. But I will tell you that they're on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon in pouring down rain, and someone knocks at the Shepherd Center's door with 2 small children and has no food, no money, and no place to go. We do address those issues. We put them up in a hotel for the night, make sure their kids have food, give them all the food that they need, and that's what we do from the Shepherd Center. By the way, I'm president of the board of the Shepherd Center. We get that over and over again. The vagrants that we're seeing is not the whole picture of what we have in Tarpon Springs. Yes, they're causing a problem. But we are addressing the people who have true needs. And if the lady that came in our door that day came from Palm Harbor, I'd like to know who would have turned her away. We don't turn people away. And that's not what our whole mission is. We don't ask for an address, and we don't just feed. We help. We have outreach programs. We connect throughout the county. We help those people get the assistance that they need. Yes, we have those who don't come to us that are doing the vagrancy type things. They're vagrants in the downtown. I'm a business person. It needs more police coverage. If any of those vagrants came to the Shepherd Center and did anything that they have been doing in the downtown, we were the first ones to call our police officers and address the issue. But I want to thank the commissioners for looking at the bigger picture to sit down. I'm going to assume that our agency would be one of the agencies that you would sit down with, because we do have the numbers and we have that information for you. And I think collectively as a community, as a village, we can address the problem correctly. But I will tell you, when I served on this board with the previous city manager, her answer was, put them on a bus and send them to St. Pete. And I sat with many a meeting with Rick Baker, and he had said to me, stop sending me your homeless. So it's kind of ironic that you're spinning that a different way now. But St. Pete, Clearwater, they are addressing their homeless, and they are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Arthur Simpson.
Father Samson Casapakis. I am a resident here of Tarpon Springs at 1636 Palomino Drive. Please do not look me up, my parishioners back there. I like to have my home as my little palace. It's not nearly as that, but forgive me for the banter. I just come before you all as I just want to thank you all very, very much. It's a difficult place to be in, to be able to try to find solutions to problems, whether we might see them as problems or not. At the end of the day, these people are people, and whether they are, from what I heard, the term chronic homeless and other adjectives used against them, slightly a little harsh, but hey, I get it. You have to kind of categorize people and where they are in their journeys. I would offer just a few solutions to help. I mean, you guys toss around some really great ideas. I'm a newbie. I moved here about 3 years ago, and I am the tall, black, robe-wearing guy that walks around the city. And so you'll see me up and down Alternate 19. I walk a lot of places. As again, I'm a big guy, got to shed some pounds, and it's 90 degrees outside. What better way to do it than just walk down the street? But there are just around our property alone 2 to 3 rundown places. There's the pink building, I believe it was called the Tea House. And then there's the one that's right next to St. Nicholas Preschool. I see people in there all the time, and I'm a big guy. I can be intimidating, and yeah, maybe I should call the cops. But if I see people in there, I'm like, hey, get out of there because our kids are right there. Maybe you should smoke your cigarettes somewhere else. And so I would first, of course, of all the things that you guys have already recommended, to also check in those buildings that might be a little bit worn down, or even places across the river where a lot of our homeless people are actually inhabiting, whether it's in the woods, in tents, or so on. Not to push them out, but essentially relocating them and offering them a lot of the resources that a lot of these providers that are here today, this evening, do offer. That would be one thing on top of all of the great ideas that you guys have had, of course, as some of the ones that are to come of thinking outside the box. I also, in turn, also offer, my wife will kill me, but I am volunteering myself in any way, shape, or form that you guys see need fit as the St. Nicholas Cathedral, whatever we can do to help along the way in empowering our homeless people, whether they're chronic all the way down to just in need. We do offer some things ourselves, but we're there to at least be a part of the solution. So if there's anything that we can do, as well as how the Shepherd Center just offered, I offer to you all whatever resources, our Untitled Chapter, anything to just kind of bounce ideas off of. We're all here as a community, I believe, to help serve and to help find the solution to the problem. And with that, I heard the word misinformation and miscommunication a couple of times. So I'm just letting everyone know that part of that solution can't mean, and I know we're not addressing it, so forgive me for being slightly out of the order, is St. Nicholas Cathedral will not stop offering its meals. Mondays and Wednesdays, we serve the community at whole. We will not stop serving the meals. We can take suggestions, I guess, but we're not going to stop serving them. So that has to be somehow a part of the solution to hopefully be a place to empower or meet these individuals where they're at and be able to empower them to hopefully get out of the hole that they're in. Again, I want to thank you all very, very much for your time and the dedication you guys are putting forth to everything. God bless you all.
Thank you. Please do not clap. Please stop. Please don't do that. I asked you twice. Please don't do that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ada Dolgaze, and I am the Executive Director of the Shepherd Center.
Your address, please.
Excuse me?
Yeah, state your address.
304 South Pinellas Avenue, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. Okay. I am truly happy that the meeting agenda was made clear that this is not about the community kitchens and feeding the homeless in our community, but it is about the vagrants in our community, of which there are only a handful. As you are aware, these people suffer from some sort of mental illness, and it is hard to reach them. A few have come to the Shepherd Center in the mental state, trying to get food. We try to talk to them, they grab the bag, and they run. Yet other times, those same people come and they get food and we're able to talk to them. I'm going to give you an example of a young woman who obviously has mental issues, always talking to herself and just walking around, and she sits in front of the Shepherd Center. And I've approached her, I tried talking to her, I tried telling her about our community kitchens, giving her food, and she would not respond to me. And I continued, and one day I just said, listen, if you ever need anything, I'm right there. All you have to say is ask for Ada. And as time went by, one day she came into my office and said, my clothes are soiled, and I just need some clean clothes. And I got up from my chair, and I took her to the thrift store, and I just showed her all the clothes that we have, and I said, pick what you want. From that time on, she started coming to the Shepherd Center, trying, just sitting there in outreach and just talking to the people, my staff in outreach. Finally, she decided to go to the community kitchens because she already started to trust us that the food was not poisoned. We have a mental health Suncoast comes in once a week. And I've tried having her come in on the day that they come in, and she hasn't made it yet. But it just takes time. It takes time to reach these people. As much as I would like to say that there are instantaneous answers, I can't. None of us can. But we are working on a solution. We can serve meals under one roof, a roof that would provide these displaced people with showers, a place to do their laundry, and have clean clothes. What are the needs? We need to find out. We need to start talking to them, to have them, to earn their trust, because that's the only way that you're going to communicate with someone that has mental issues. The Shepherd Center has many, many partners. Alcoholism, drugs, mental health, etc. We have the opportunity to be able to help them. But we need a place. And we have proposed, and we are working diligently and very hard to get the Hope Center, which is the solution, which is our solution in our county, in our city, to help meet those needs. Our intent is to have the Shepherd Center incorporate its partners with the Hope Center to assist these displaced people. Currently, we have multiple partners in the community who work together to meet the needs of this population, like the Salvation Army.
It's expired. You wrap it up, please.
Oh, it's over.
Excuse me, I'm Fred Howard, 1425 Coburn Drive. I give my 4 minutes to...
2 minutes.
I give 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We have resources that come at least once or twice a week to provide services to our clients, such as therapists from Suncoast Mental Health Center, a representative from Pinellas County Homeless Leadership Board, Career Source, and many others. And as you are aware, we desperately need shelters in Tarpon Springs to keep these people off the streets. I believe that the Hope Center, that you can make a big difference to the residents and businesses in our community. We need to work together. You need the churches, agencies like ours to continue to work with this population in trying to assist them in getting the help they need. And we need you to continue to support our efforts in any way you can so that we can make our community stronger. We are here and ready to sit with you to discuss such possibilities. We lead by example. Thank you for your time, and God blessing be with you. But I had written this, but I heard so many things which, when it comes to people coming from St. Petersburg. I called St. Vincent de Paul from St. Petersburg. They serve 14,000 meals a month. There's 2 places, as a matter of fact, 3 places in St. Petersburg. Salvation Army being one of them that provides community kitchens. We have a community kitchen in Clearwater. They're open 7 days a week from 8:30 to 10:30 at night. We have community kitchens in Pasco. In order for you to get a bus pass, there has to be a reason. We don't just give out bus passes because we pay premium. They don't give us the bus passes. We have to pay for them. All right? But I just wanted to let you know that thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And God bless you.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Linda Elzell, 1706 Palomino Drive in Tarpon Springs. And I've had the pleasure of working in the community kitchens for a couple years. And I have come to really understand so many of these folks. They're really good people. And the thing I'm going to ask and thinking about a little bit out of the box is don't just talk to the agencies, but talk to the people to find out what their issues are. Because I think you're going to find that there are a number of people who are older, who are using the community meal because they're lonely. We get a lot of older gentlemen who seem to come for meals. And I think you need to find out who the folks are and maybe talk to them too to find out what their issues are, especially around the issues of vandalism. Just trying to think out the box, outside the box.
Thank you.
Tim Kafalis, 205 Leafwood Drive, Tarpon Springs, and I'm the president of the HEPA, and we've been partnering with the Shepherd Center for several years, and we've helped in other organizations as well. And anybody that asks us for help, we help. But tonight I heard from homeless. I looked up the definition of vagrant. If you're going to do something, you're going to have an understanding of what you're saying. According to the dictionary, a vagrant, as a noun, is a person who wanders about idly and has no permanent home or employment, vagabond, tramp. And later on, it even says at one time, actors were considered vagabonds and vagrants. You can't, on one hand, some of you called them homeless, some of you called them vagrants. It's synonymous, and you're going to have to first learn what you're going to talk about. The mayor, seemed to have pretty good understanding of some of the organizations that are out there to help. I served as director of public housing in the 1990s. This problem went on then for our public housing in Tarpon Springs, and I served on the homeless committee back then with the Salvation Army and other organizations. And I was always asked, why do we have this problem? Annually, we would come to the city and tell about our state of affairs at the housing, and I was always asked, why do we have this problem? Why do we have this problem? You've not addressed it. I've run for office 3 times in Tarpon. I've tried to bring this up as an issue, and it's like it just bounces off. The only thing you're hearing is the complaints from merchants, which may be valid, but you're not doing anything to resolve it. There's a report that was presented to the County Commission that you should look at, which I brought up at the last 2 elections, and since then, Tarpon's been placed on as one of the top 5 areas at risk and in Pinellas County. There's, according to the census, there's about 920,000 people that live in Pinellas County, and 11% of those are at or below the federal poverty level in the county. That means about 47,000 people are below the poverty level. In the early 1960s, Tarpon Springs leaders decided it was necessary to create a public housing authority to provide safe, adequate, inexpensive, and durable housing for low-income seniors and families. Through the years, they created and managed as many as 232 apartments and houses. Since the original housing authority was started, the county has created Section 8 housing, and there were many private complexes recently built to help seniors who are also struggling. And those are some of the people that we see when we do our dinners and that come to the Shepherd Center. Unfortunately, little has been done to address the extremely poor and homeless in Tarpon Springs. The police department has done a very good job to handle the homelessness and to help find them a place to stay. Unfortunately, there's little housing available for the homeless in Tarpon Springs. While our city is trying to become a full-service city government, we have neglected our most vulnerable and most troubled at-risk residents, leaving their fate to nonprofits and individuals. A part of Tarpon Springs was recently placed on the topmost impoverished areas in the county, and it's getting worse. The homeless issue needs an unbiased and factual understanding of the problem, and to just say there's a problem will not resolve it. It's no secret that students living in impoverished areas are more likely to have health issues. They are generally have low success in school, and the neighborhoods become further impoverished without a major intervention. You can't just annually mention, as you have done since I've been involved in the city in the 1990s, that we're going to do something about it, and then you do nothing. You can't do it without dedicating money and staff to the problem. As I've said before, the police has staff, but that's not enough. In the past, the city created various departments and agencies to help in many ways, except in funding to define and determine the best way to resolve this problem. If you as a city government and your representatives cannot do more, you will see the homeless issue escalate each year. You need professional help to help you with this and a dedication to resolve it. I don't see tonight that dedication. Tonight I heard you say,
Mr. Kefalos, your time has expired.
I heard you say $5,000 you're giving to the Leaper Ratner. You've created a dog park. Ask yourself tonight, how much have you given to homeless issues?
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
If you plan to speak tonight, please line up by the podium.
Hi, my name is Linda Mandano. I live at 626 Bay North Court in Tarpon Springs.
Thank you.
I had written something out, but I just want to speak from my heart. First of all, I want to say I felt really happy to hear that you're wanting to work together with the people who provide the services and figure out these solutions. It made me feel very, very happy to hear that. I'm a retired social worker. I was also the supervisor of a chronically mentally ill for one of the major counties in New York State. I was a supervisor for that program. I've worked with the homeless over the years. And I have been working in the kitchen in Mount Moriah and also Mount Herman, preparing food and serving the food. So I have been having the opportunity to really meet some of these people. And it's amazing, if you ever have the opportunity to do this, to just sit down with them. This is not, you can't lump them into one category. Everyone is different who walks in that door. And you start to feel and understand the struggles that each of the people are having when they come in. They don't come in because they want to. They come in because they have to. And I just want to say that. And in terms of the mentally ill problem, there's no easy solutions to that. I supervised a unit for that, and they come in sometimes, and you can see how much pain they're in. And I have to say that what I do, because sometimes it's upsetting to me to see that, I just think, wow, this person suffers so much in their life. And once I do that, then I could reach out to that person, once I can open my heart to them. So I'm just really inspired that, I'm so happy I moved to Tarpon Springs. I think it's a place that does have a heart, and I'm really looking forward to working even more and having more of the services provided for this population. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Tommy Frayne, 624 Pent Street in Tarpon. Get that to stay there. Definitely appreciate this issue being on the agenda for tonight. There are far more qualified people than I on the homeless issue that have gotten up and spoken, and I, for one, appreciate everything that the organizations within Tarpon Springs do to help the homeless. I was concerned, and especially the reason that I came out, and yes, I saw different posts and things being talked about what may be discussed tonight, and obviously that concerned me because I have seen communities that target homelessness by basically criminalizing homelessness. As some of you may know, I was arrested back in 2011 for sharing food with the homeless in Orlando when they made sharing food illegal. I'm very concerned because that was the law that got all of the publicity. There are lots of other ordinances and laws that were put into place that specifically targeted the homeless. And those laws do not target just the vagrants or chronic homeless. You know, you cannot separate that when we start looking at those types of solutions. So I'm all for exploring solutions, and I think partnering with these community members that know a lot, it's extremely important. But I want to caution exploring certain ordinances and laws that would, in essence, criminalize homelessness, because this is not an issue, unfortunately, that the city of Tarpon Springs can solve, or any city or any county. You know, we've traded in mental health care for jail cells, which is a huge contributing factor to homelessness in our streets. So we can do a lot as a community, and obviously we have lots of caring community members, which is really great to see people come out and concerned, you know, about this issue. And I definitely don't envy the position that the city commissioners are in, hearing it obviously from merchants and from community members. So I don't envy the position, because it's not an easy topic and not an easy solution, but it's a long-term solution. So I know, you know, it was mentioned if we can get this done. It's not going to be something I think that can get done, but I think the ball, you know, can get rolling, and there can be discussions within the community, and the community members' input is really what's needed. So that's why I'm here. I just wanted to get up and really, you know, I understand that we aren't going to talk about not serving certain people and everything, but I guess I wanted to make sure I reiterated that point and that, you know, using ordinances and laws against the homeless can have other effects as well, and we need to make sure that we keep that in mind. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Pleiades. I reside at the Oakley Villas, 1397 Greenleaf Court, Tarpon Springs. I coordinate and oversee the kitchen at St. Nicholas. And all these years, we don't have any problems, but I am not here for that stuff. I'm here to officially stop the fake news, you call it now, the fallacy about people from St. Pete or Clearwater that come to our city. We have a book at the entrance of the kitchen on Mondays, and everybody sign on it. And every Monday visit us the overreach officer, Hercules. We have a good conversation with all the guests at our kitchen, and sometimes advise them, guide them, chastise them, but they're all friendly. We haven't any problem. But I see the same faces, except few new faces who they come for the housing project, elderly people, but nobody is from St. Pete or any place else. Whatever we have, everybody is from Tarpon Springs. And we are a blessed community, and all of us here are blessed, but we need to learn how to carry those who left back. Homeless is going back to 1800, 1700, 1900 during depression and coming up, always going to be homeless. Now the Sever Center, the director, Ida mentioned the Hope Center. That's a good solution, and because every problem has a solution. So we're coming up, the Sever is coming up with the plans, and I hope all of you support it. In reference to the commissioner mentioned that the agenda was a mistake, background about that stuff. That stuff is unacceptable in our city, but the commission needs to assign a committee with a police officer, and the police needs to investigate that. Because I have couple commissioners mention a property is damaged. I may visit the commissioner to ask him what is the damage. Why the police not informed to investigate it? That was the point I want to make. And I hope we move on and try to help each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vasily Faklis, 929 Oakview Road. I'm a lifelong resident. Thank third generation business owner for over 100 years in this city. We love the city, as all of you do here. And I applaud everyone here. I applaud the commissioners. I applaud the police department, our fire department, paramedics, all of the agencies that are here helping. Ron Haddad, we work closely with him as well with all the programs that he does, and the Shepherd Center as well. And yes, I am one of those business owners that and concerned residents that constantly are calling the police department because I've been told to. So it will go on record and notifying these commissioners. And I won't share with you the pictures because they're very graphic of defecation, urination, vomit, urine, blood, clothes, mattresses, condoms that we're picking up on a daily basis. I get to my business early. I have people passed out on my doorsteps. We have panhandlers that are constant panhandlers. I'm not saying that the Shepherd Center, or no one's saying that the Shepherd Center is causing this, but we have to relook at our programs together as a community. We have to look at our ordinances. And yes, we do think outside the box as a business. We're a shoe store, so through, we used to give shoes to an international program. We stopped doing that. We give it to local programs. We give it to Shepherd Center, Cops and Kids, CAP Center, Metropolitan Ministries. I work with large running organizations that have donated. We had Black Women Run donated over 400 pairs of shoes, and I've distributed to all the areas to in our community to help these people. We do want to help them, but whatever you call it, we are talking about illegal things that are going on. And I'm not knocking the police department. I applaud them because whenever we call them, they come. But this is a chronic situation. We're trying to run businesses. I have customers that are afraid to go into the parking lots. My employees are afraid. My employees are telling me, I have to clean this on a daily basis. This is disgusting. It's a health issue. So we need to consider what's going on. It's easy to say, throw it on the police department. But whatever we're doing, I'm not saying there's one thing that we're doing or not doing, but whatever we're doing, we have to change some of these programs because we're taxing our police department, which could be out doing more serious things, protecting our citizens. We're taxing when somebody passes out in front of your building. This is a common situation. It's not good for business. And these businesses, we're the businesses that donate to these programs. And it's every time you call, they have to respond. It looks like it's, a high crime area. My dad, my 88-year-old father, who was accosted in our back parking lot the other day by someone, whatever you want to call them. They were there, and they wanted money. And he said, I don't have money. And they get very aggressive. These are the people. We're not talking about everybody, but we're talking about these people that get aggressive. And they told him, I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. He says, well, I'm a disabled veteran too. And my 4 minutes are approaching. But we have to change things. Together we can do that. That's all we're saying. We're not here to attack. We're here to help. And I know we can do that together as a community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is anybody else wants to speak?
Hello, my name is Nick Gerakis, 1021 Hamilton Avenue. I also happen to be a worker for the city, and I just want the city to acknowledge that there is a big problem with the long-term, or I'm going to call them transients, that are coming through town and causing problems. This is not the people who need a hand up or help for just a little bit of temporary thing. These are the people who are constantly out there, like Vasily was just saying, they'll accost you. They come up and they always want something. I can tell you for a fact, 2 days a week I go out into the parks and clean up in the parks the ball fields everywhere, like everywhere else around town. There's Craig Park, I have found used needles at. Around the bayou, I've found needles at. Mother Mere's parking lot, I've found needles at. Behind the train station, I have found needles at. Tarpon at Orange Street, that parking lot, I've found needles at. And a couple of days ago, there was 3 used needles found at North Anclote Park. There's a lot of problems, and we need to acknowledge it. Also, Craig Park, people have said, I had a resident who actually asked me why they're using the band shell as a toilet. They said it's shaped like a toilet, but it shouldn't be a toilet. And there was actual people going to the bathroom, number 2, on the band shell. That pulls city employees away from doing what their regular job is. And it's disgusting, to be honest with you. I recently saw a video of a vagrant, or whatever you want to call him, exposing himself in front of the Panera bread store. That's not something that anyone needs to see, any kids or anything like that. They're leaving garbage, shopping carts. They're causing a lot of people to do extra work to clean up so that other people don't see it. They're starting to sleep down at Sunset Beach now. And I have to disagree with some people earlier that I spoke to a gentleman. He was laying on the bench at the Sponge Docks, and I knew it looked bad, so I came up to him and asked him, struck up a conversation. And he says, oh, man, I just love it here. I love it here. He goes, I've been putting this off for a while. My friends have been telling me to come to Tarpon for a while. He goes, it makes it really easy for us. And he said he came from Largo. So these are just things that I've experienced. So anyway, just in closing, it is a big problem. It is going to start affecting tourism and property values possibly. So, and hopefully something bad doesn't happen before that changes. Again, I'm talking about the people who don't want help, the people who have no desire to improve. It has nothing to do with the Shepherd Center or all the good work that they do. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Carl Valmeigen, 1006 Osprey Court, Tarpon Springs. It looks like we've gotten to the place in which we've been able to express what our concerns are, both from the commission as well as for those who have supported through the agencies that try to assist in making our community welcoming to all, particularly those who have severe needs. I heard that we were moving forward to having some kind of a gathering where we can have an open discussion and we can all be better educated about the needs the commission sees as well as what the serving agencies see as a way that we need the commission to help us and to do a better job. So do you have a plan for how we will proceed then from tonight to move that forward down the road? And I'd appreciate if someone could respond how we will move forward, because we want to work together and address the needs of the community.
Chris already explained the plan that he has for that, sir.
So that there will be
sometime in August, early September.
Well, where it's going to happen intervening, is that bringing it back to the commission by the second meeting in August?
Yes.
So between now and then, city manager will call for a gathering of people that we can continue this conversation and work together on a plan?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments on this item? Any other comments on this item? Here none. We take it back to the commission. Any comments, Commission?
Thank you. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, because this is a very sensitive issue and an important issue here in our community. And like I said, we want to work together with all the organizations here in town that help our homeless and our veterans and families, anyone in need. We want to help them. But again, I think we can come to some sort of an agreement or have another good discussion and put all our minds together and see what we can come up with as a group and continue to help with people within our community. And also with the policing possibly of taking care of the vagrant and the chronic homeless issue that we have with the some of the problems that we're having in town right now. Again, that I don't consider the vagrants or the chronic homeless the same as the people that truly are in need of our local people and our families and like I said, and our veterans. And just so you know, I raise a lot of money throughout the year with the organization that I'm part of, the Elks Lodge. We put on functions throughout the year, and we raise a lot of money for this community, and we give back to the community. And we're very proud of what we do. We send baskets and baskets of food and clothes throughout the community. We donate to the Boys and Girls, Boys and Girls Club, and to we send clothes down to the veterans. So there's a lot that we do as well as an organization. So I would like to maybe see if I can involve the Elks Lodge as well into this discussion that we hopefully can have and come together again as a community and resolve our problems. Thank you.
Commissioner Sieber?
Yes, I want to thank you all for coming. And I think what the main concern was we've had the homeless issues and a lot of issues in the city, but the illegal issues with defecation and panhandling and those things are what have a lot of business owners and citizens concerned. People are afraid to go out into the alleys or come into their businesses. It's driving tourists away. And we really do need to discuss these things. And again, I think that the only way we can move forward is to have a discussion with all the agencies and everyone involved and figure out what we need to do. So together as a community, we can figure out what we need to do with our police department and I think our board to see what we need to do to move forward because just discussing it isn't going to get us anywhere. So, I had mentioned earlier I was on the Homeless Leadership Board for almost 4 years, and statistics show that about 40% of our homeless have severe mental illness. So that's a whole other issue. But these illegal activities are what we need to also end somehow. So our citizens and our tourists can feel safe in Tarpon Springs. So I applaud everybody that is a service member and helps. But we're not talking about families and people who are hard up in luck and just need some help. We're talking about some things that are really disturbing our citizens and our business owners, and we need to take care of that. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for the public comment, for coming out and speaking. I do want to reiterate, I believe, what Commissioner Kikta and Commissioner Sieber also said. This is a difference between someone that is chronic homeless and then someone that's having a hard out in their luck or falling on hard luck with families, young kids. So if it was misunderstood that I'm saying anything about someone that's in a hard time, that's not what I was trying to convey. There's definitely a difference, I believe, and I think we all know the difference between someone that wants to live in the street and someone that's really trying to get back on their feet. So thank you all for being here, and looking forward to discussing this further and coming to a solution sometime this year.
Vice Mayor Panther.
Yes, thank you again. I want to thank everyone that came out tonight and waited around to give us your comment and your input. We look forward to those that are part of the providing organizations. Then other than that, I'll be working with our city manager and chief of police. One point of order, it was mentioned by one individual that perhaps we don't do anything for the homelessness as far as financially. Mark, how much do we give each year to the Homeless Leadership Board?
5,000.
5,000.
Exactly. Thank you. And then number two, I think, and this is not something that's going to be solved by this board or even under this board's purview, but I think as a community, we have to always keep in mind, and I kind of mentioned it before, it's not popular to talk about, but the balance of helping people and what we're known for. And it's without a doubt, our organizations do probably the best job in North County of helping people that are down on their luck, vagrant, poor, homeless, whatever. And as that gets better and that increases, and we also know that the Shepherd Center wants to build a central location for them, they're going to come here from other places. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's a fact. So that's not something that this board can decide or legislate. But I think as a community, we have to talk about and decide what are we going to be known for, and what's the balance between helping those in our community that are in need, providing those services, but then attracting those from outside of our community as well. I don't have the answer to that, but that's going to be a question that we're all going to have to talk about. So thank you.
Thank you. I also like to thank everyone for being here tonight. And again, I'd like to say how grateful I am to the organizations, to the churches for providing cut meals to the people in need. And I also like to, I'm looking forward to see the plan that Mr. Licouris is going to provide us to work with. And I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for being so understanding and working on this issue. Thank you all for being here tonight. That concludes the regular agenda tonight, and we go to the staff comment.
No comments, Mayor. Thank you.
City Attorney, thank you for being here tonight.
As pleasure as always, no comments.
City Manager,
I don't have any comment.
City Clerk,
No comments.
We got two clerks tonight.
two clerks.
Two clerks.
Sorry.
Double clear.
Commissioner Kickter.
No comment.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I just want to, apologize. I was told my demeanor in the last commission meeting looked upset and tired. I was covering for two people at work and I was hungry, so I apologize for my facial expressions in the last meeting. And also, I want to say thank you to all of our employees that worked on 4th of July, and also thank you to Waste Management for sponsoring the event over at Craig Park. It was very busy, and I always want to acknowledge our employees that.
Excuse me, the meeting's still going on, if you please.
They don't hear you.
That's fine. I just always want to acknowledge our employees that work on a holiday when they're not with their families. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sieber.
Yes, I agree. It was a great event. I want to thank everyone that was involved. And I have a question mark. I meant to ask you this and just thought about it again. Now that spring has been completed and it looks beautiful, is the county going to go back and put crosswalks on South Spring and Grant? Do you know if
I had a question about that.
the county did complete its South Spring Boulevard,
North Spring,
and North Spring. Is the county going to come back and do any crosswalks? Do you know if they were asked?
I don't believe.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
I thought it might have been a good opportunity.
Again, we're looking at crosswalks down the next block. We're looking at what to do there. So we can certainly, as we're looking at, which is not easy. It's not a simple thing. You paint the lines and you go. That's a very dangerous situation. And working with the police, you don't create a crosswalk that's going to cause more danger and stuff. So, but I think what we can do is coordinate when we work on the configuration of that odd stop, where Tarpon Avenue ends, that maybe the county can allow. If we get the team out there to stripe it, we can always make an agreement and do there too, to figure out, which again is not easy with that median the way it goes. There's going to be some thought into it, but we can look at both of those.
I go by there 100 times a day, and in the dark especially, where Grand and Spring meet. You see people crossing, and of course
that is one of the areas we're looking at.
Yeah, where the stop sign is, and of course.
But again, there's dangers in how you do it in both those intersections, so we have to consider those too.
I just didn't know whether the county was going to do that for us or not.
Well, we got them to agree and move up and provide money that wasn't there to pave the road. But that's a simple thing. Again, again, as I've said, the county and us are working very well together. And for instance, when they do some things, they do a little for us. If we're going to go stripe a crosswalk and we talk with them, and obviously with their road, we get their permission, but we're like, it doesn't take that much to go up to the next intersection and stripe too. So we'll work out something like that. And just because they've left don't mean it's going to be a long time before they're back. So we can work that out. Again, there's been great working with this county administrator who I hate to see leave, and I hope they don't bring another Metro guy so I can war with for the rest of the time. But again, you know, great cooperation for them to do that, to change and find in their budget and move up that project for us. But that's just a small example. What they did on the railroad by River Village and the trail, and working with us, the two city and county teams working together. We're seeing that all over the city, and they're responding, as some of you on the commission have been talking, people of the county and stuff. There's the great response, and I hope when the new administrator comes with his philosophy, there's going to continue to be that great response. And with some of the people like Commissioner Egger and stuff that we've got on there, I think they're going to demand that.
And we're very lucky he was reelected.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to echo Vice Mayor. Also, thank you to all the city employees who worked on 4th of July. I was able to attend the fireworks show out at Sunset Beach, not on the beach, but along the neighborhood area. I thought it was a nice show. There was a lot of people out. I would also like to commend the police chief on how the traffic was escorted back out of town with closing down some of the roads. I'm not sure how it was fully how it was accepted by everybody. I thought it was a good idea though to push them towards the main arteries out of town instead of around the bayous. Also, Commissioner Sieber, I met with the county. I'm not sure what his position is, but I met with him about 2.5 weeks ago and talked about crosswalks that are planned for the Riverside and Spring Boulevard Bridge, the Yacht Club Bridge. There's crosswalks on both sides, and I asked them to look at these areas sooner because it's a couple years out still before the bridge is going to start under construction. And then I also pointed out some areas along North Spring Boulevard that need attention also. I would like to encourage all the commissioners, when you see these areas, to reach out to the county because they want to hear from us. And there's also areas along Mears that I've brought up as well that need crosswalks too. So it's important that they hear from us. They said one of their initiatives that they're looking at is more pedestrian safety. So they're very open to looking at crosswalks and working with the city. We just need to make sure that they hear from us often. And when they hear from more than one of us, it's even better because then they hear a louder voice, right? So there were some opportunities. Along that Spring Boulevard and Grand intersection, I think there's an opportunity to look at some alternatives to the four-way stop moving forward in the future as well that I'd like to discuss with the city manager at some point too. So no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of things I need to announce. Saturday, July 1st, 21st, we have the wine walk that starts at 4 p.m. On Tarpon Avenue. Then we're going to continue down on Pinellas and the Swing Stop.
We have a trolley that goes back and forth between
down
the
there
two.
too. I also like to congratulate the county commissioners, David Eggers and Commissioner Pat Jigard, for their re-election. They both are very good to work with. Yesterday, I had my monthly meeting with Commissioner Eggers, and we discussed many projects that we want the county to do on the county roads, including the shorelines on the Wickham Boulevard, as well as the Anklo Road. So that we discussed in that, and some other things that not as serious as those two areas. So if anyone has any concerns, I'm having a meeting with the commission every month to discuss this issue. With that,
Mayor, can I real quick?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. I meant to say, it just reminded me, and I've done this before, but I know, and not to take away from you, Mayor, I know you have regular meetings with the county, and I appreciate that. That's shown fruitful in Tarpon. But I do want to thank Commissioner Carr. You have, in the short year you've been on this board, done far more with the county than I have in my 5 years. I've campaigned off being a watchdog against the county, and rightfully so in some areas when we had that. But I think we're progressing now, and I really do thank you for your diligence with the county. I know you've driven around commissioners that probably haven't been to Tarpon before, and I think have helped Commissioner Eggers as well as the mayor's meeting with Commissioner Eggers help him be more engaged in Tarpon Springs. Where I mean, we haven't had this kind of representation on the county commission, at least I'm in my memory. I think y'all's efforts and how you all communicate with the county really does help that. So where I'm lacking that area, I think you all pick up all that slack. So thank you very much.
Can I just add something to that? Actually, we have 3 or 4 county commissioners who come up here, and one had their campaign party up here. And so I thank those county commissioners that are now getting much more involved in Tarpon and realize we're in the county. Because sometimes I wonder.
I also like to congratulate you for representatives of PHTA.
I'm trying to do my best.
And I know you do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the regular meeting tonight, and it's adjourned at 9 o'clock. Good night, everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Oh, no.